Lila Thornton's day had been going perfectly, or at least as perfectly as life could for the daughter of one of the city's richest families. Her calendar had been packed with brunch meetings, boutique openings, and a quick stop at the art gallery, yet she had still managed to squeeze in a solo drive along the quieter streets of the city. The soft hum of her luxury sports car, the smooth leather beneath her fingers, and the scent of vanilla from her favorite car diffuser made her feel untouchable, invincible even. She scrolled absent-mindedly through her phone, liking posts, replying to a few messages, and letting the world exist only at the tip of her fingers. Then came the sound, a harsh, metallic grind that shattered the calm. Her heart skipped a beat, and she instinctively tightened her grip on the steering wheel. Another sputter, louder this time, shook the car as if it had a mind of its own. "No, no, no," she whispered, panic rising. The dashboard lights blinked in warning as the engine wheezed and died completely. She pressed the ignition again. Nothing. Just a hollow click that echoed ominously in the quiet street. Lila's mind raced. She was used to having her problems solved instantly. A phone call, a driver, a mechanic on call. But here she was, in the middle of a tree-lined suburban street, with no one in sight and no immediate solution. For the first time in a long time, she felt helpless. Stepping out of the car, she ran her hand through her perfectly styled hair, trying to calm herself. The sun was beginning to dip, casting long shadows across the pavement. Lila squinted down the empty street, hoping to spot a passerby or a nearby gas station. But there was nothing, just the quiet hum of distant traffic and the occasional rustle of leaves. She opened the car door fully and leaned against the hood, suddenly aware of how much she had relied on her money to solve everything. This was different. This was real. As she stood there, a figure appeared at the end of the street. At first, she thought it was just a delivery boy or someone out for a walk. But then, as he drew closer, she recognized him. Ryan Sullivan, her high school classmate, the quiet kid who had always been in the background, sketching or tinkering with gadgets while everyone else chased popularity. And now here he was, approaching on his worn bicycle, hands gripping the handlebars casually, a backpack slung over one shoulder. Her lips parted slightly. "Ryan," she called out, almost unsure if her voice would carry. The sound of his name felt strange on her tongue, like calling back a memory she hadn't thought about in years. Ryan slowed as he saw her, confusion flickering across his face before recognition settled in. "Lila Thornton," he said, his voice carrying a mixture of surprise and amusement. "Wow, I didn't expect to see you here, or in this situation." He gestured at the car with a nod, and Lila felt a flush of embarrassment. How could she, the girl who had never experienced real inconvenience, end up stranded in front of someone from her past? She bit her lip and tried to regain composure. "Well, I guess even billionaires have bad days," she said lightly, though the nervous laugh that followed betrayed her anxiety. Ryan didn't reply immediately. He walked over slowly, studying the car with a practiced eye, and Lila noticed a subtle confidence in his stance, something grounded, practical, completely unlike the ostentatious world she was used to. It was as if he belonged somewhere real, somewhere tangible, while she had always floated just above the surface of life, untouched by the messy, unpredictable reality of it. And in that moment, stranded with her car and pride both broken, Lila realized that maybe, just maybe, she needed someone like Ryan to help navigate this small but very real crisis. Ryan knelt beside the sleek, gleaming hood of Lila's sports car, his hands moving with a careful precision that made Lila's heart skip a beat. He didn't hesitate, didn't glance at her as if he needed permission. He simply started working, popping open panels and twisting bolts with the ease of someone who had done this 1,000 times. Lila hovered nearby, unsure whether to step back or lean in, feeling more like an observer in someone else's world than ever before. "You know," she said nervously, trying to fill the silence, "I thought my car was, well, indestructible." Her voice wavered slightly, betraying the nerves she'd been trying to mask. Ryan didn't look up. "Nothing's indestructible," he said matter-of-factly, tightening a bolt under the engine. "Especially not when you ignore warning signs." He tapped lightly on a metal component, listening, his brow furrowing. "See this? You've got a snapped serpentine belt, and your alternator's acting up." It's no wonder the engine gave out. Lila frowned, pretending to understand. The words sounded technical, almost like a foreign language, yet there was a strange comfort in the way he explained them, not condescending, just matter of fact. Okay, so, can you fix it? She asked, trying not to sound desperate. Ryan finally looked up, a small, confident smile tugging at his lips. Yeah, I can, but it'll take some time. She flinched slightly at the idea. Time was luxury she rarely allowed herself, but somehow, waiting for him to work felt right. She sank down onto the curb, tucking her legs under her, and watched as he moved seamlessly between tools, wrenches, and engine parts. There was a rhythm to him, a quiet focus that was oddly mesmerizing. She remembered him in high school, always tinkering, always calm while chaos swirled around everyone else. And now, here he was, the same grounded, steady presence in her suddenly chaotic world. So, you always fix cars? She asked after a few minutes, breaking the silence again. Ryan shrugged, not missing a beat. Cars, bikes, electronics, pretty much anything with moving parts. My dad taught me, and I've kept at it. Helps me clear my head. He wiped a smudge of grease from his forehead, leaving a streak of dirt along his temple. Lila's gaze lingered a moment longer than necessary, the contrast between his casual, hands-on appearance and her own pristine, curated image was striking. Minutes turned into nearly an hour as Ryan worked methodically, checking every connection, replacing the serpentine belt, and carefully recalibrating the engine. Lila found herself talking more than she usually would, telling small stories about school, vacations, and the absurdity of her social life. Ryan listened, occasionally chuckling or making a short comment, but mostly he stayed focused on the car. Yet, there was something comforting in his presence, as if the engine repair was secondary to the quiet, grounding effect he had on her. Finally, Ryan sat back on his heels, inspecting his work one last time. All right, he said, brushing his hands on a rag. That should do it. Try it. Lila hesitated, then slid into the driver's seat. Her hand trembled slightly as she turned the key. The engine roared to life with a smooth, powerful purr. Relief washed over her in a wave, and she let out a laugh, part disbelief, part pure joy. Ryan leaned against the car, hands in his pockets, watching her reaction, his small smile widening. You're amazing, she said softly, unable to hide her awe. I don't know how you do that. Ryan shrugged again, casually, though there was a glint of pride in his eyes. It's just fixing things, nothing magical, but Lila could see the truth in the way he moved, the confidence in his hands, and the quiet strength in his demeanor. For the first time in a long time, she felt grounded, like money and status didn't matter, and that sometimes, the simplest skills were the most valuable. The engine purred steadily now, a smooth, confident sound that filled the quiet street. Lila rested her hands on the steering wheel, feeling the vibrations run gently beneath her palms. Relief flooded through her, but it was mixed with an unexpected sense of awe. She glanced over at Ryan, who was leaning casually against the hood, his posture relaxed but his eyes still sharp, scanning the car as though making sure nothing had been missed. I can't believe you just fixed it, she said, her voice softer than before, tinged with genuine admiration. I mean, most people would have taken hours or needed a whole team of mechanics. Ryan shrugged, a faint smirk playing at the corners of his lips. Sometimes the right approach and a bit of patience go a long way, he said. His casual confidence contrasted sharply with her own high-strung perfectionism, and Lila found herself studying him, noticing small details she hadn't before. The way his hands moved naturally even when resting, the calm steadiness in his gaze, the subtle curve of his smile when he was pleased with his work. She laughed lightly, shaking her head. I don't think I've ever seen anyone handle a problem like that so calmly. Ryan tilted his head, raising an eyebrow. And you look like you've just run a marathon for surviving a 5-minute inconvenience. He gestured at her pristine outfit and perfectly styled hair. Lila felt heat rise to her cheeks, realizing how exposed she was, not physically, but in the sense of having her usual armor of wealth and status temporarily stripped away. I guess I'm not used to real problems, she admitted quietly. The words hung between them, more honest than she had intended. For once, she wasn't performing for anyone, wasn't trying to impress or maintain her carefully curated image. She was just Lila, A girl whose car had broken down and who had been saved by someone she barely remembered from school. Ryan's expression softened slightly. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone has to be an expert at everything. Sometimes, you just need the right person at the right time. His gaze met hers, steady and sincere, and Lila felt an unexpected warmth spread through her chest. She wanted to say something witty, something charming, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she smiled, a genuine smile that reflected both relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Ryan," she said simply. "I don't know how to repay you for this." He shrugged again, leaning back on the hood. "Seeing you drive away without your car exploding is thanks enough," he said, a playful glint in his eyes. "Besides, it's nice to see you out here, actually, real, I guess. Not just the Lila Thornton everyone expects." Lila's smile lingered. She realized he was right. Stripped of the distractions of wealth and privilege, her world felt smaller but more vivid, more tangible. And in that small, quiet street, with the sun casting golden light across the scene, she felt a connection she hadn't anticipated, a recognition of someone who existed outside her social circle, someone grounded and authentic. Finally, she climbed back into the driver's seat, glancing at him one last time. "Hey," she said, hesitating for just a moment before continuing. "I was thinking, maybe we could grab coffee sometime. Or lunch, if you're free." Her fingers fidgeted slightly with the strap of her bag. It felt strange, asking a question that wasn't dictated by social expectation or status. It was just her, inviting him, an honest, simple gesture. Ryan paused, looking up from the backpack he had slung over his shoulder. For a heartbeat, his expression was unreadable, and her chest tightened. Then, slowly, a genuine smile spread across his face. "I'd like that," he said, his voice steady but warm. There was a flicker of something playful in his eyes, a glimmer that told her he wasn't just being polite. Lila felt a surge of relief and excitement, something she hadn't felt in years outside the controlled routines of her life. "Great," she said, laughing lightly. "I promise I won't break anything else while you're around." Ryan chuckled, shaking his head. "No promises about the coffee spilling, though," he said, his tone teasing but kind. The simplicity of his humor, so different from the staged conversations she was used to, made her laugh again. She realized how much she had missed this kind of connection, the effortless, honest kind, where status and wealth didn't matter. She glanced down the street, noticing how the shadows were stretching long and soft, the city lights beginning to twinkle faintly in the distance. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "sometimes I think I've been living in a bubble, surrounded by things I don't really need. And then moments like this happen, and I remember what's real." Ryan looked at her with quiet understanding. "Sometimes it takes a little breakdown to figure out what really matters," he said. There was no judgment in his voice, only truth, and it struck her how right he was. Her car had been fixed, yes, but more than that, something inside her had shifted, too. She smiled again, feeling lighter than she had in months. "I guess you're right," she said softly. "And I'm glad it was you who helped me figure that out." Ryan nodded, his expression warm and steady. "Me too," he admitted, and for a moment, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them, standing on the quiet street with the hum of her car still vibrating softly beneath them. Finally, she started the engine and prepared to drive away, glancing at him one last time. "See you soon?" she asked, her voice tinged with anticipation. "I'll hold you to it," he replied, a small, teasing grin curling his lips. As she drove away, the city lights reflecting off the polished metal of her car, Lila felt a flutter of excitement mixed with serenity. Her world hadn't changed in terms of wealth or privilege, but it had shifted in the ways that mattered most: human connection, trust, and the unexpected thrill of discovering someone who could surprise her in ways money never could. And for the first time in a long time, Lila didn't mind a breakdown, because it had brought something far better, a chance at something real, something lasting, and maybe even something extraordinary.